Good evening and welcome to the March 7th, 2022 meeting of the City of Lake Oswego Development Review Commission. The meeting will now come to order. Kat, please call the roll of commissioners present.
Arthur,
Here.
Silent,
Here.
Berardi,
Here.
Sangri,
Here.
and Bruce Poinsett. Kirk Smith and Jeff Shear are absent this evening.
They're excused. Thank you very much. And we're pleased tonight to have our council liaison, City Councilor John Wendland with us. Welcome, Councilor Wendland, and we're looking forward to hearing your report on recent City Council activities.
Thank you, Chair Arthur. I hear you have a really long meeting tonight, so I'll be brief. Usually I keep my comments under 45 minutes to an hour, so there's just a lot going on. No, I'm not sure what you guys like to hear. I'll give you some highlights, and as a liaison to many different commissions, this is the best one because I have to leave so that I don't hear anything about the future possible deliberations. So I'll see you, and you can always reach me by email if there's something that you want to know about. If there's questions, feel free. Oftentimes during meetings, things come up and you want to have an answer, and if I'm not here, I want to make myself fully available to you.
Thank you.
The first thing I want to talk about is really this is the first time I've been able to speak to the DRC, and I just wanted to first and foremost thank you for your service to Lake Oswego. I know that you guys get to sometimes make decisions that are not always popular on this commission, but you do it in a very wonderful, deliberate, and correct way. Sometimes the outcomes are not always how you may think that they'll come out, but I think the secret sauce that we have in Lake Oswego is the volunteers and the people that give their time. And we always have A+ people with wonderful skill sets that make this a better city. So thank you so much for serving. And I know, like me, you guys are all waiting for the stock options to vest. So sooner or later, at least that's what they keep telling me, that we'll somehow get a payout sometime. There's a couple things that have been going on this year. One is the last 18 months, we've had a police department review. As you know, we had a fairly challenging time a year and a half ago with different opinions on the roles of police. And the city took a very, what I would call aggressive and open process to really do a complete review of our police department. And over the course of many public open meetings, many groups that came forward, people that we seeked out, surveys and so on, and then a big conversation, a long dialogue with our police department, city staff, and our citizens. I think we went through a very good process to say that we are doing things in Lake Oswego, not perfectly from a police department standpoint, but I think pretty darn perfectly. There really wasn't a lot of discourse where we had people storming off, because it was a conversation of how to get better. And we had full support of our police department, including our chief, Chief Jorgensen, who really participated. And last council meeting, we had what we think is the kind of final wrap-up meeting on the police review. And that was to give us some insight to steps that we need to take going forward. And a lot of that is more communication with the citizens, more communication with different groups in Lake Oswego that would like to know more information, and more information about things like traffic stops, or how are we doing what do we do in situations like this, that type of thing. The other thing that we had in an outcome, which I was very proud of, is that we evaluated our staffing levels, and we haven't added new officers to our force since I think 1990 or something. And we're adding 4 new uniform badged officers, where you hear a lot of cities saying defund police. We actually evaluated that we need additional staffing based on activity in our community. So it was a great dialogue. There's more steps that will be happening, but I just wanted to highlight what's been a long process. Came out very positively for Lake Oswego and our police department. And I think that's really reflective of all the departments that we have in the city. They're top-notch, and they do good quality work for the citizens. And so I just wanted to update you on that. I know that you may be involved or have been involved.
You're
Oh,
being
I'll stop
recorded,
talking.
Counselor.
Yeah, there we go. I know some of the capital projects that we have coming out of the Parks Bond may come before you, may not, but I wanted to make sure that you went to the Adult Community Center. That project is complete and that won't be coming before you. And they're having the open house, I think sometime this week, next week. If you have a chance, go by the Adult Community Center. That's one of the projects. We're also working on the tennis center. And then you probably know about the Lake Oswego Recreation and Aquatic Center, LORAC, up by the golf course remodel, and Receipt Park are just some of the projects that we're working on. That's a lot of activity for our city, but I think every project that we do, similar to City Hall that we're sitting in, it's creating a new asset for our community to use that's new, modern, and will serve our citizens very well. So we're excited about what's happening, and I know that some projects are farther along than others, and some are still getting community feedback. In fact, Receipt Park is having a community meeting as we speak to get more input. We had council goals, and I'm not going to go over them. If you want to look them up, feel free to, but I would say this council that is currently sitting took on some good goals last year. We have even more goals this year that we want to accomplish, and we're all, I would say, pretty well aligned. So there's nothing that's too controversial, but it's all important moving forward for the city. And one of those is the HB 2001, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and you'll be even more familiar with as we continue to go down the line. We have spent a lot of time on that. I know Randy has spent hundreds of hours on the topic and has participated in lots of meetings in the last, 6 or 8 months. It's something that we know as a city we're going to have to deal with in a fairly planned and strategic way. And I think we're doing those steps, and we have been doing those steps. The option was to not do anything and have the state mandates just roll over into our city code. Like Lake Oswego, I think we're smart and intelligent to ensure that we have the best thinking and the best feedback and input from our citizens to try to come up with the right kind of policy. Are we going to get it perfect? No. And I'm sure you'll be seeing the results of us not having perfect policy. However, I do think that genuinely we want to have local control as much as we can while still following the state mandates. And so we didn't want it per se. We would have rather have had them give us a goal of providing more housing or multiple family housing, but our legislators in Salem decided differently, which is fine. So we're going to live with that. And I think we're all going to have some interesting times ahead of us. And I know our staff that is dealing with this is certainly having lots of fun trying to get into the weeds and figure out just what we need to do. But it will have an impact on our community, and we hope that we can manage it appropriately. Then the last thing I wanted to mention was our community survey. I don't know if you were able to get your hands or your eyeballs on it, but I think it's reflective of how Lake Oswego is working, and it was a very positive feedback. There's a couple areas that we had that we could work on, like transportation. But when we had the presentation from it was a scientific survey that was taken by a professional company. When he gave us the results, it was kind of interesting because he says, I think you guys are kind of like a unicorn city. The number of responses was valid. The demographics were valid. Everything was valid. But he said, we thought there was something wrong with the data because it was too positive. So, and we're going, well, that's all right. Welcome to Lake Oswego. And I think that's reflective of an engaged community and a community that cares about what we're doing. But it's conversely, I was at a meeting that was put on by the Portland Business Alliance for all of the elected city council, city commissioners, metro commissioners. So it's all kind of the local metro elected officials. And those of us that showed up, it was an interesting survey, and I don't know if you've heard about it. If you haven't, please familiarize yourself with it, because it was a pretty awakening result. It wasn't as positive as Lake Oswego was. Portland was almost in the other direction. Things that Portlanders never thought of 5 or 6 years ago, like crime and homelessness, were now the number 1 and 2 items on the list. They were not happy with their current form of government. The city council got I think an 83% dissatisfaction rating, which they've never seen before. They always had somewhat partisan results. Now it applied to everybody, and it was, I think, what I would call a wake-up call. And so after the presentation, I wouldn't say people were super warm and fuzzy. They were a little bit shocked, and hopefully shocked so they can do some changes in policy. Some of the things are out of our control, other things are not. But I will say it was very nice sitting there as somebody from Lake Oswego that had a great survey. I won't say that it was great. I would say that it was assuring that some of the things that we're doing, not everything, but most of the things we're doing are setting us on a positive course. So I just wanted to alert you, if you haven't seen the survey, to take a look at it. It's pretty revealing. And that's kind of it on my report. And I really want your feedback on what you want me to tell you as far as a council update. So you just let me know. You can tonight or write me an email, and I will do whatever you want. So anyway.
Well, Councillor Wendland, thank you very much for that detailed report. And I especially appreciated your discussion of police and community relations in Lake Oswego, as well as your description of some of the recreational and social opportunities that are continuing in our community, as well as our middle housing initiative. Commissioners, did you have questions of Councillor Wendland or comments? Greg?
Just a couple. That was a great report. Thanks very much. The rec center at the golf course, I got a couple of questions. I'll give you one is, how is that going as far as timeline? Is it on timeline? The other thing is any major capital investments or improvements that are planned in the next, that you think might be on the agenda in the future. And On the recreation side, I've been here 27 years. I've seen a lot of ballparks, ball fields, soccer fields, baseball fields. We've done a lot in the last 27 years. Is there more mixed generation use like pickleball courts, which I did the pickleball this summer and it was great. It was multi-generation, things like that, some expansion in that area.
Well, to your pickleball point, it's the fastest growing sport in America. So beyond anything else, it's maybe not the revenue of football or basketball, but you just never know what will happen. Strangely, you should say we had 2 meetings ago, a fair number of people testifying on behalf of the pickleball group. Well, actually, the neighborhood association that listens to the pickleball group. It's as the growth has occurred, there's more sound that's happening under more hours of the day. And so I think that's a growing pain issue that we have. We hope that we can somehow address some of that. We're having the Parks and Rec Board take a look at it and see what we can do to help mitigate some of the concerns. As far as the rec center and the golf course, both of those are on plan. We did sign the contracts for the golf course and a significant portion of the rec center. They're going through now the planning process and through the planning department to get reviews. And at this point, I think they were sent back for further work. So I think something that the citizens of Lake Oswego should know, any project that the city does, I think we look at harder than we would anybody else to make sure that we're doing things correctly. So there's no free passes. And the team, both teams, while they may have opposing, reasons why they're meeting, or maybe not opposing, but challenges, they are brought out, and the process that we go through is challenging and by the book. And so both those projects, the golf course theoretically is supposed to be closed this year and will open, I think, next year, I believe is the idea. This needs to have a full year's worth of growth on the grass. LORAC, we're having a design review meeting Thursday, I think, Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. And that's will give us a project update. At this point, it's pretty well laid out. And that's supposed to be, I think, at the end of 2024, I think is when that's supposed to be built or in use. So future projects, there is talk about probably the one asset that we have now. Well, 2 assets. Our South Shore Fire Station has been there for a long time and has had little help to it. So it needs some capital improvements. And also the discussion at the library, I think, will start. The library board, advisory board has been asking for a library for quite some time. For those of you who've been around for a long time, we did try passing a bond for it in 2012 or 20, I don't remember.
Around then, yes.
It didn't pass, but big picture, the library is still the library, and we haven't done anything with it. I don't know if you've been around. Well, when I grew up in Lake Oswego long ago, it took the city 10 years to figure out that they were going to redo the library in the same spot and just add a basement and expand a little bit. I'm hoping this process goes a little quicker, but I think the conversation has to be from a 60,000 foot level of what is a library and how is it going to serve your citizens. So it's not going to be the library that we grew up with, but it'll be a different type of model. And I think that's the conversation we first have to have so that we can have a good decision-making process to figure out what future needs that we have. But we do know that the current asset at the library is in some need of repair, and we're having to spend some money on it now to keep it going. So that's probably one of our weak links at this point. And that's pretty much, I think, larger projects that are from the public standpoint. And then North Anchor is the signs up. So if you haven't driven up B Street, I encourage you to go by and you'll see pictures of the apartment and the hotel that will be happening on the North Anchor. So that's really exciting. And that's under review as well. And I think it's getting pretty close. I think they're getting closer. I don't know where Jessica can probably fill us in on where we're at on those.
Well, of course, they've already obtained land use approval, so that has been approved. And my understanding is they're just working on contracts. Is that correct, Evan, for the North Anchor? Yeah, they're just working through on contracts, and they actually have submitted a building permit, but it's still under review. So, yeah,
So
it's exciting.
Well, that'll be exciting to see. It's been a long time coming.
Yep.
yes, it truly has.
Thanks very much. That was great. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much for that detailed report. We very much
Sure.
appreciate it. And we'll look forward to reading the results of the community survey.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Same with you.
I did want to announce that we did have a public hearing scheduled for this evening on LU 21-0075, a request for a 6-lot subdivision and removal of 13 trees relating to a site located on Carmen Drive. However, that hearing has been continued and will not happen tonight, and I understand will be rescheduled for March 21st. You're here for that. Now we will go to the minutes, our next agenda item, minutes of the February 23rd, 2022 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes as submitted in draft? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 23.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Very good. The minutes of the February 23rd, 2022 Development Review Commission are approved. We also have on our agenda findings from LU 21-0077, which was a request for development review permit for a new 100-unit multifamily building, a lot line adjustment to move lot lines between certain tax lots, and the removal of trees. And this is a site on the former Merrillhurst University campus at 17600 Pacific Highway. Have we all had an opportunity to look at the draft findings? And if so, are there any changes, or is there a motion to approve the draft findings?
I'll make a motion to approve the findings of LU 21-0077.
I will second the motion.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Mr. Vice Chair,
yes.
this requires a roll call vote.
Thank you.
We
For
did
that
not
point
do
of
that
order.
the last time.
I think that's an important point of order. I think we should pursue that. Would you please call the roll of commissioners present?
Arthur,
Yes.
Bengry,
Yes.
Silent,
Yes.
Artie,
Yes.
The findings are approved unanimously by those present. We will now move to a schedule review and management update.
I do have 3 brief items to update you on. The first is that our next meeting is at 7 p.m. on March 21st, and we'll have 2 items that night. The first will be an appeal of a decision by staff to approve a development review permit. This is for a picnic shelter at George Rogers Park. And that's been continued a few times, and it looks like we're going to finally schedule that meeting for the 21st. The second item is, of course, the item that was continued from this evening, which was the 6-lot subdivision. Next is, I just want a reminder, actually, this was a good to bring up earlier in that we have three large projects that are pending right now that will come before the DRC. And that includes the golf course, the aquatic center application, as well as Receipt Park. So just a reminder, if you can please avoid ex parte contact if you can. If you do have any ex parte contact, please make note of it because you will need to declare it at the hearing. All three of those have been submitted to the city for land use application. They're currently in incomplete status. So I don't know when they'll come before you, but you can expect to see those sometime in the next few months. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know that the city will be lifting its mask mandate on March 12th, which happens to be a Saturday, so really effective the 14th. After March 12th, it'll be optional. If you want to wear a mask, it will not be required by anyone in City Hall. But we know that everyone has different levels of comfort. So if you want to continue wearing masks, please feel free to do so. But otherwise, it is not required after that time. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you. We have some interesting projects to look forward to.
Yes.
Is there any other business? No. Hearing none, without objection, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Thanks.